How are we doing? And by we, I mean the American consumer. You've got such a great view on what happens across the country. How are we doing?
Yeah, I mean, what we're seeing at Sam's Club is consumers that are consistent and rational. I've been in retail for more than 30 years now, and I've never known a time when people don't love great items at great prices. And as long as you're giving people that, we're finding consumers really, rational and consistent.
What is their behavior, though, right now? Because that's something Carol and I were talking a lot about today. And, the whole idea of, are they buying what they typically buy? Are they buying what they buy at a certain point in an economic cycle? Are they trading up? Are they trading down? Mm-hmm. What are they doing in your stores?
Yeah, it's interesting. Consistent would be the word I'd use. People are still buying general merchandise from us. I mean, we talked in our last quarter the results about general merchandise sales having another quarter of positive comp. But what's really interesting within that is that the units are moving faster than the items, which means that, we're still giving them great value. And I think people are really moving to appreciate when they're getting good value. The club warehouse model is made for times like these, I would say. It's a good time to be in the club model. In our clubs, we've only got 4,000 items. And the way that the club model works, just to level set us, is our job is to make almost nothing on what we sell. We're just about break even, and we make all our money from membership. So the lower you can operate in terms of costs, the lower you can keep prices. And when that happens, people are more loyal. They renew more often, and you get more members. So we're in this really special moment right now where people love the great value that we've got, and they love the great items that we've got too.
I want to cross that with what we just heard from Fed Chairman Jay Powell, Chris, last week in terms of the decision, and kind of basically saying the Fed's not in a great place. Either way, there's some risks to the employment picture. They're concerned still about inflation. So there's kind of risks to both sides of the equation, and concerned about monetary policy that it's hard to do right now in this environment. So that to me sounds uncertain, unsure, but it doesn't sound like you're saying any of that.
Look, the club, here's the thing. We have this position where there's only, between us and our main competitors in the club model in particular, we're only 6.5% of the total retail market. And we would definitely, from a club point of view, our consumers definitely skew sort of more wealthy, bigger basket sizes. And but we do serve everybody. And we don't see a great delta between different income cohorts.
You don't?
No.
All right.
Nor generations.
Well, what about, when you think about kind of the environment, especially when it comes into tariffs, in terms of pricing, how do you kind of figure out where you can maybe raise prices, where you can't? It's
such a great question. And again, not to sort of pivot, but the one of the powers of the club model is because you've only got 4,000 items in the club. Those items are curated.
Yeah.
And our merchants, they are true professionals. Many of them have been in their jobs decades, and they understand the value chain from end to end better than anybody. And so they get the ability to choose what's in the club, but they also get the ability to work through where the inefficiencies are in the supply chain. They've got deep relationships with the suppliers, so you work through where the opportunities are between the suppliers too. So I'll give you an example. Our roses that we buy from Ecuador, the costs went up because, the tariff environment changed. And so our merchants worked through with the supplier, what could we do? So we moved them in different ways. So we have less packaging. We wrap them in the US now instead of where we used to wrap them. And so you do things like that help you to manage the input costs. That means you don't have to pass it on to the consumer. And our job is to work through how little you pass through, and you work through how late you do it. So we'd always like to be last up, but we have the ultimate opportunity in the club channel, and that is that we have choice because we don't have to sell everything. So the curation actually is a superpower for us.
Does that mean you haven't raised prices on anything?
No. We see. Look, here's the thing. There are certain things where prices move all of the time anyway.
Right, I
so
get that.
Produce would be a good example of that. And there are some
strictly tariff related.
Yeah. What I would say to you is that if I think about general merchandise, which is all of the electronics and apparel and all of those things.
The stuff that I have way too much in my home.
There's never enough.
Yes, there is.
You're talking to guys who sell stuff, Carol.
Never enough.
I know. But anyway.
Please buy more.
But in terms of tariffs, particularly putting pressure on pricing.
Yeah, so what we see is, in terms of what people are buying, I think I mentioned this, but the growth in the units that we've had is outpacing our comps in general merchandise. So if you think about like over the last few years, you had like packaged goods through COVID became more expensive, and they never really came down. Whereas general merchandise, we had the supply chain disruption. You remember that, and the general merchandise inflated, and then it deflated rapidly after all of the supply chain disruptions disappeared. And at the end of last quarter, we were still in a period of slight deflation in general merchandise. So prices move all of the time. Our job and our merchants' job is to make sure that we give people access to the price points they want and the value that they want. I think maybe it's worth mentioning, but in Sam's Club, like we're 25% cheaper than retail in general. So as we resist putting prices up because that's in our DNA, we're always going to be more price competitive than everybody else.
So then you haven't raised any prices related to tariffs?
We will be the last people to put prices up, and some prices have gone up, but in the mix, I'm telling you, so for sure, I mean, we have input price changes in some items, and some's come through already and some is still to come through, but I would tell you that like our job is not to lead with putting prices up, and all of our sales growth in Sam's Club is through unit growth, not inflation.